Howdy. In today's video, we are going to be revising the Ember build that I did a few months ago for TennoCon. It was around the time that Ember's heirloom skin came out, and it's one of my most favorite videos that I've done. Yes, most favorite, double adjectives. And it did pretty damn well, I'd say. It's my best video view-wise, but I also wanted to do it because I felt like I could do even better with the stuff that's in the game now. We can make it even spicier, and so that's exactly what I've done. I've been working on this, found some interesting things out, and made the build even juicier than before. So if you like Ember Booty, then make sure you leave a fat like and subscribe, because I love Ember Booty too. Though Heelchin's booty is better, got him. Now, Ortis, shut up. We're going to go into the Simulacrum and start explaining this. Onwards. Here we are in the Simulacrum, so let's get right into what the do in the build, okay? Now, first off, we have the Archon Shards. We have 3 yellows Tau Forged, 2 for parkour velocity, 1 for casting speed, and 2 red Archon Shards Tau Forged for strength. Compared to the previous iteration of this build, it used to have these parkours replaced with orange shards for ability damage on enemies affected by radiation. We are still going to have rad procs on the enemy. The reason we've replaced it is A, we don't really need that extra damage because we have so much damage in this build already now, and B, having extra parkour velocity to get around very fast is very nice. Now after that, let's go ahead and switch to the proper loadout, Queen of Flames. And we will begin with the mods on Ember. Compared to the previous build, the only things that have changed would be one of the arcanes. It used to be Arcane Energize, and now it is Arcane Aegis for extra survivability. And the other one is we replaced Stretch for Augur Secrets. And the reason for that I'll go over after we go over all the mods for the people that did not see the first video. We have Brief Respite for extra shields back when we cast our abilities. We have Catalyzing Shields so that we have a low shield cap, meaning we can easily get our shield gate back with Brief Respite. Archon Vitality, the extra health is just okay. We don't really care about that. We mostly just want the double heat procs. Very nice. Umbral Intensify for extra strength. Equilibrium will be sustaining all of our energy needs. Prime Flow for energy max. Prime Continuity for ability duration. Healing Flame because this gives us health back, and more importantly, it can also give us Overguard for every enemy hit by R3. And then Augur Secrets is extra ability strength and even more shield back, like with the Brief Respite effect, but on the secondary effect. Now, if you do not care for this, you can run Stretch, and there's a reason I'm running Augur Secrets over Stretch. Because of how Heat Inherit works, if we have too much range and we apply heat with our abilities before we apply it with our primer with the heat, we won't actually be able to benefit from the bonus damage that we get through Heat Inherits. It's not the end of the world in most missions, but having lower range makes it easier to control where we apply heat with our abilities. If you want to go for more range, then you can go Stretch. But I find that the 25 base meters on both Inferno and Fire Blast is more than enough. Should you decide you do want more range but not the base, you can also go with Augur Reach, or if you don't care about the extra strength, because we already have plenty of strength in the build, you can also go with Augur Message instead for the duration, so that we have a longer duration on Roar. That's also nice. Molt's Augmented for a bunch of ability strength, 60% when it maxes out, and as I had said earlier, Arcane Aegis is for more survivability. Prime Sure-Footed, I like this here just for comfort. We are getting Overguard. I know some people will mention that. We have Overguard, which gives status immunity. However, the Overguard will be breaking and coming back all the time, very often, which means if it breaks and then we get knocked down in the time in between, we're absolutely screwed, which is why Prime Sure-Footed is very nice. It's not going to come into play in most missions. Like, honestly, this will save your ass maybe 1% of the time, but I'm willing to take it for that 1%, so that's why I have this here. If you don't want to run a different Exilus, you can run Handspring or normal Sure-Footed instead, or a Mars Anguish, Boreal's Anguish, whatever the hell you decide to put here, that's up to you. For the weapon, we replaced the last weapon in the build, which was Kuva Brahma, with the Incarnon Strun, the Strun Prime specifically. And the reason for this is it's just much more consistent. The Kuva Brahma in the build had the purpose of killing Acolytes, because Acolytes are the main thing we struggle with in this build, because Ember's not great for killing Acolytes. Well, this is way better than the Brahma was, and it's very consistent and very easy to use. We obviously have, the base evolution you can't change. Then we have evolution 2 with Blazing Barrel, evolution 3 is on Rapid Reinforcement, and evolution 4 is Elemental Balance. The build is very straightforward: Prime Point Blank, Primed Ravage, Blaze, Toxic Barrage, Galvanized Hell, Amalgam Shotgun Barrage, Critical Deceleration, Shotgun Elementalist, and Galvanized Acceleration with Shotgun Vendetta as the Arcane. The idea of this build on the weapon is to not rely on getting a bunch of kills to build up our stacks. The Exilus is irrelevant, we don't really care about that. We don't have Galvanized Savvy, so we don't have to worry about building it up, plus it doesn't work on the explosions, which makes up a big portion of this weapon's damage. Now, the reason we don't want to have to build stacks up is we're not primarily using this to kill stuff. We're using Ember and shooting stuff with Epitaph. So to have to switch to our primary and build up a bunch of stacks before we can kill the Acolyte is a real pain. That's why only really having to build up like Shotgun Vendetta with a single kill makes life a lot easier. And then having it as a stat stick with Amalgam Shotgun Barrage is also very nice for the revive speed if your teammates die a lot. Then Shotgun Elementalist is here just because the stats damage is nice, because Gas destroys Acolytes, and Gas ignores Acolyte damage attenuation, or so I was told. I can't guarantee that, but I think that's the case. On top of that is a projectile-based AoE weapon, meaning the majority of this weapon's damage, a good 66%, is also ignoring the Acolyte's damage attenuation. This thing pulverizes Acolytes. Then for our secondary, we have Epitaph Prime. This is a straight upgrade over Epitaph, the normal version, which is what we had in the previous version of this build. All of the mods are exactly the same except for the Exilus, which is the prime version of pistol ammo mutation instead of the normal version. You do not need this. I have never once run out of ammo using the normal pistol ammo mutation, even when spamming the crap out of this weapon. The only reason we have the prime version is it looks fancy. The mods on it are for a general heat, inherit, and viral setup to prime stuff. Prime Fulmination for a huge 14.4 meter range on the explosion. Frostbite, Pistol Pestilence for the viral. Scorched Prime Heated Charge for lots of heat. Lethal Torrent for fire rate multi-shot. Amalgam Barrel Diffusion for multi-shot and dodge speed, which is nice to be faster. Perpetual Agony for the status duration, and secondary Fortifier so that we get more Overguard, and also it works with Heat and Hair to make our Ember do massive damage to Overguard. If you don't know how Heat and Hair works, then a general sort of overview of what it does and some interesting things about it I covered in the video that should have come out before this one, so give that a look. For the melee, in the previous video that I had done on the previous build, we had Telos Boltus or the Harmony as our options. Telos Boltus because it gives parkour velocity, which is nice, and also has a unique trait where you can slide melee and pull enemies in within a 14 meter radius. And grouping is nice. Harmony as the other option because the heavy attack can detonate all DOTs on an enemy and make them take all the damage at once. So if you have a bunch of heat procs, it can make it all damage all at once. Very nice. These are both great options. However, we have, in my opinion, a juicier option nowadays, and that would be the Hate with its new augments. As far as the evolutions go on it, we have, obviously the base one, then Swordsman's Flourish for Evo 2, Resolute Force for Evo 3, and Absolute Dominion for Evo 4. On the weapon itself, Reaping Spiral, Discipline's Merits, and the augment. You get this from Nightwave as of recording this video. I don't know how you'll get it in the future. I mean, I basically do, they'll add it in Nightwave in like 5 years down the road, but right now you get it from Nightwave. When Hate damages enemies inflicted with Heat status, they become vulnerable to 120% more status damage. First off, this is a unique modifier or multiplier, meaning it is not additive to other stuff. It's not even additive to the damage bonus statuses from Elementalist, because this is its own thing and it's a debuff. All you have to do to apply is damage an enemy that is affected by heat using the Hate. The Hate itself does not have to have heat on it. The Hate itself does not have to deal heat damage. The Hate itself does not have to apply a heat status. As long as heat is on the enemy and they are damaged by Hate, it will apply. Also, any sort of damage counted as Hate damage, air quotation marks, will proc this, meaning electricity AoE will proc this, gas AoE will proc this, and melee influence will proc this. So by running electric gas melee influence, we can spread this effect on enemies very, very easily. And everything's already going to have heat on it anyways because we're Ember and we're using Epitaph. Also, this damage debuff on the enemy is permanent. As long as it's been applied, it will never run out till that enemy is dead. And since it's a debuff, it also means you're not just benefiting yourself, but you're benefiting your teammates because their weapons and abilities will deal more status damage to the enemy. So this is just more than double the heat damage. Very, very comfortable. The build itself, very straightforward. Primed reach, extra range, lasting sting for status duration, so the gas clouds last longer. Of course, the augments, virulent scourge, and volcanic edge, so that we can get the gas damage, weeping wounds for status if we end up building combo. We'll take strike for the electricity for melee influence, and quickening for combo count chance and attack speed. For the Focus School, we have the same Focus School as last time, and that is Matter Eye, because Matter Eye gives us casting speed from Power Transfer, which is very nice, and bonus ability Strength from Sling Strength. It also, in general, is just very good for killing stuff, so that if we die, we can use Last Gasp and easily kill everything because of Matter Eye to get ourselves back up. It also means we can easily kill the, like, Spectre dudes if we do Void Cascade or anything like that. You don't have to run Matter Eye, you can run any of the other Focus Schools, though I would not recommend it. Unero is not really that useful. It's not terrible, but it doesn't really have anything specific that we need. Neromon, we're not spamming our melee exclusively, so that's unnecessary. Vazarin is okay for more survivability, but we honestly have plenty as is, though if you really want more survivability for both yourself and teammates, especially with Protective Sling, you can run Vazarin. Zenerek is not going to work a lot of the time because it gives energy over time from both Energy Pulse and Wellspring, which does not work when you have a channeled ability active and draining energy, which means if we have our heat full from our second ability on Ember, this is not even going to work to give us extra energy. So I would just stick with Matter Eye or Vazarin, Matter Eye being my preferred. For the Companion, we have replaced Nautilus with Nautilus Prime. That's the only real difference. All of the mods are the same as the previous build. Cordon to suck stuff in, Guardian for lots of survivability, Vacuum to grab things, Prime Regen to get itself alive again, Accelerated Deflection, Calculated Redirection to help keep it alive, Synth Deconstruct for lots of extra health orbs which convert to energy, Manifold Bonds so that we can apply lots of statuses and also reduce the cooldown of Cordon and Guardian. Actually, scratch the status part, you can't even apply statuses with Cordon, I don't think. But you get the point, right? This is to make it so that Guardian and Cordon can get spammed like crazy. Assault mode, so it actually targets stuff, and Duplex Bonds, so we get lots of them running around priming things. Then, for the weapon, same as the last build again, we have Hellstrom with a typical Radiation Viral Primer setup. Very, very straightforward, right? You know, 60-60 Cold and Toxin for Viral. Then we have heat and electric combined so that we can make radiation, because this weapon does have heat at base and it will screw the heat inhibitor up if we don't get rid of this, meaning you need to put thermite rounds and high voltage on this to create radiation. Vial acceleration speed trigger just so it shoots fast, galvanized chamber for multi-shot, and primed firestorm for a bigger AoE so that it can hit more enemies. Then for the operator, I have whatever the arcane is that gives you a second life on your operator. I don't really know why you'd run anything else other than maybe Mage's Lockdown. But other than that, there is another arcane that is important / not really, depending on what you think about maximizing your damage. And we'll slap it on screen right now. Bam. This is Mage's Accelerant. It is a very interesting arcane for your operator. On Void Sling, it makes enemies take reduces enemies' heat resistance by 65% at rank 5. For every Void Sling. Now, a Void Sling has a 2-meter radius at base. You can increase it with Mage's Cloud, the arcane from Quil Anko on Cetus, or Sling Stun on Neromon. Neither one of these affect the effect duration, the effect radius of Mage's Accelerant. No matter what you do, Mage's Accelerant will always only have 2 meters. Very sad. Other than that, though, this debuff is permanent on the enemy. It never runs out. It also has a no cap. You can apply it 100 times and it will stack 100 times. It stacks additively with itself. It is also a unique multiplier, meaning that it will not stack additively with other things, making it have a huge amount of damage increase. It's not really worth it to just spam it over and over and over and over and over like 5,000 times, because the more you spam one thing that's additive with itself, the less value it gives the more you do it. Though I do like to just spam the crap out of my energy until it's empty, in that be it, and then kill the enemy. So let's get this off the screen, shabam. And that's it for the build. Very straightforward. The sucky suck is really, really good on Ember because the fire ring that you get from her 4 when it hits an enemy, the Inferno, when that hits an enemy, it will deal damage to nearby enemies because it's a ring of fire. So if you have 20 enemies grouped up, all 20 have fire rings and all the fire rings are hitting all of the enemies, so it's quadratic scaling damage. Let's go ahead and grab some energy real quick, and we will show off briefly the build doing stuff right here, even though it doesn't really matter because it's hard to show and this is a simulacrum, but we'll go into a mission in just a second. Suck these guys all in, you know, get our sling stun and stuff going, Mage's Accelerant like so. Didn't even have our 3 up yet. It doesn't really matter, they're all going to die regardless. That is without our stuff being built up all the way, not even close. Still pretty hefty damage though. That being said, you probably want to see this in mission because it's pretty fancy in mission. So let's go into a solo Netracell to show it off. Into the Netracell we have come. Now let us begin the decimation and obliteration of our enemies. Overall, this build is extremely snazzy in my humble and always objectively right because I said so opinion. That's obviously a joke in case you didn't get that. Now, you are going to have to keep up with doing some stuff on this build. I have seen people say, like on the last Ember build, they don't like having to do stuff that's very active. I personally think it's enjoyable and it makes it much more satisfying when you kill everything doing a build that actively takes brain power to use. That's not to say you can't play the game in a brain dead way. There are brain dead setups I have fun using, but it's still very, very satisfying when you can do this. It's not hard at all. It can be a little intimidating to what can look like a lot of like actions at once, but it's really very, very straightforward. You want to make sure you get your heat bar so that it is building up very, very fast, because when you cast it full, you get a full armor strip on your 3, and you also get like double the damage on your 4th ability. And we like damage around here. It is exactly what we played this game for, right? It's big PB damage. We're already on to the first Netracell. The parkour velocity helps this so much, dude. I love having the parkour velocity here. It makes Ember feel really, really smooth to play because she's so fast. And I mean, she's got a very active playstyle, so being able to be very, very fast is very nice. And look at this, we're applying a crap ton of Mage's crap onto this dude. Now we get our roar going, and then we apply this, get our 4th. Don't let the green light bulbs of death kill you. They're very, very not fun to deal with. This is overall pretty decent for heat DOT damage on the enemy. Obviously not like amazing because it is a necromech, so of course it's not going to be insane since they don't really take big damage from heat or statuses in general. But being able to do any amount of status damage to him is better than no status damage to him. Do try to manage your energy. I know I said there wasn't really energy problems in this build, and there isn't normally, but we are in a Netracell where we have a thing that drains energy per second for every enemy nearby. We should still be fine as long as I'm careful about this and not like big dum-dum, but I can be big dum-dum a lot of the time. There were some other interesting things I tried to do in this with deciding on what to have my Heat Inherits be, because you can use your companion as your Heat Inherit primer, and then you don't even have to consciously think about what you're doing when it comes to using Heat Inherits. So that can be nice, but overall you end up having less damage and less control about where your Heat Inherit goes. And that's not a big deal a lot of the time, but sometimes it can matter. So that's why we ended up going with Epitaph, which me alongside with my viewers decided on a stream. So, you know, subscribe and watch for streams if you care about that and you want to contribute to what I do in making videos with ideas and stuff. Or join the Discord. We also have a Discord if you want to do that and talk to other massive brain individuals. So we got lots of big peepees there, like Big Daddy Pancake or Mommy Pancake. Sorry, I'm confused. There's more than one pancake in the Discord. Okay, actually, wait a second. I just realized I think every pancake in the Discord might be a female. Wait a second. Anyways, we have like 3 different people all named Pancake, though I usually remember in the moment, but not in the moment. It's very hard to keep track of them all. I'm sorry. I love you all, though. There's also Big Daddy Matt, Big Daddy Chip, Watermelon, Lord Laborious, the Cook the Fanatic, yes, the Lord himself, Lots of great people. Definitely join the Discord. Very shameless plug. Don't even at me, bro. If you want to see more heat and hair, I already mentioned this, but you should definitely go watch my heat and hair video that should have come out before this, so that if you don't know what heat and hair is, you'll actually know why we're using it, because it is a massive damage increase. And I purposely did not use Bane mods when it comes to heat and hair, because Bane mods are a pain in the ass to always have to switch out, and I honestly would rather delete the game than have to get max and use and switch out consistently all of the Bane mods, the Prime versions, on every setup I use. So no thank you. That's why we're not doing that. Plus our damage is pretty high already that it's not really necessary. I haven't even pulled out my hate even once this video. I should have, because I did mention that we have it in the build. But this is just a Netracell. Netracells are pretty damn easy nowadays, so I didn't really need to use the hate, much less spam Mage's Accelerant. I really wouldn't recommend using Mage's Accelerant on enemies other than if it's a big tank enemy, or if it's a group of enemies, because the radius is so small that doing small individual enemies isn't really worth your time. But for big enemies and groups of enemies, it is definitely a humongous increase in damage that takes extremely little effort to actually make use of. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me run all the way to extraction, so let's go back to our orbiter real quick. Oh, whoa. All right, back in the orbiter we are. That's going to do it for the updated Queen of Flames build. If you have any interesting ideas or things to add to this, then make sure to leave a comment about that. I'm very satisfied with how this build came out. I really liked the old version, but I knew I could do even better. So that's why I did this. Plus, you know, Ember's got a nice booty, so who doesn't love doing more stuff with Ember? She's amazing. Other than that, I am still working on some other stuff. I know I haven't posted a lot recently in the past week. I went like almost a week without posting. It's because my internet's been doo-doo, and it won't let me record stuff. I'm surprised I even managed to record this. Yowzers. Something I would like to show before I go, though, is going to be a real quick funny of all of the enemies dying with all of the buffs up in the Simulacrum. Not really realistic for everything to be up 100% of the time, but it's still funny. So we're going to show that before we go, as well as some interesting thing that is really important that has to do with heat inherits and the damage to overguard using secondary fortifier, the arcane. So let's go ahead and speed to the Simulacrum before we end this video. Okay, so in regards to secondary fortifier, here we are with Scorch and Heated Charge, no secondary fortifier. And here is the setup on Ember. I want to show the damage before and after against overguard, specifically because of how heat and hair works. First, we're going to armor strip them. That shouldn't affect it because it's overguard damage, but might as well just to be safe. I don't think it should affect it. Now, if we hit this enemy with our 4, you can see we have 4,101 damage on the enemy. Now we're going to let the heat DOT and the ability run its duration out anytime this year. Then we apply a heat proc with our Epitaph for heat inherits, and now we are hitting for 10,439. Everything adds up. But outside of the typical heat mods and Bane mods, there is one other thing that can apply, or at least I'm sure there's maybe other things, but one main thing that can apply to heat inherit that I've never seen someone talk about, and that is secondary fortifier. Two things with it would be, one is see how my overguard builds up now, and every heat proc can build it up. That's very good for gating because it just keeps refreshing even after the gate comes back. Very good. And also because of how heat inherit works, it counts as the weapon doing the damage whoever got the first heat DOT, so I can apply that and then do that, and then look, my overguard goes up extremely fast. More importantly than that, though, the main thing I want to talk about is that if I come to this enemy and now I apply it with secondary fortifier and then hit them with my 4, look at the damage. 85,000. The 8 times damage multiplier against overguard from secondary fortifier, that works with heat inherits. Very busted. So there's your tidbit of info for the day. I hope you enjoyed that. Now let's show the funny. Alright boys, here we go. Time to show the maximum power. We're gonna first shoot with Epitaph so that we can get our passive going on Ember, like so, at least decently built up. Sling strength, cast Roar. Spam our 4 into the wall so that we can get that built up. Our heat bar, because that's very important. Let's just spam the crap out of it. Come over here to this group of enemies. Get Sling Strength built up back again. Suck them all in. Epitaph. Hate. Epitaph again. Armor Strip. And then they all die. Beautiful. That's going to do it for the video. Adios.